Bon, bonsoir. On va commencer parce que malheureusement, Matthias Rick, il est un peu pressé. Il va repartir ce soir encore pour Prague. Et c'est dommage, mais j'espère qu'une autre fois, il va venir peut-être pour plus longtemps. Donc, on attend encore un peu les étudiants du workshop, mais ils vont venir au fur et à mesure. Parce que cette conférence, elle est aussi un peu dans un cadre d'un workshop qu'on fait actuellement au Neuhof. Sur l'espace public et la question de l'art et l'architecture dans l'espace public. Alors, quoi dire sur Raum Labor? Raum Labor, on pourrait dire plein de choses, mais je ne veux pas trop rentrer dans les détails parce que je pense à travers la conférence, on aura pas mal d'occasions de voir ce qui fait Raum Labor et quelle est leur démarche intéressante. Juste peut-être pour un peu comprendre un peu qu'est-ce que ça veut dire Raum Labor et qui sont Raum Labor? Raum Labor, c'est une sorte de collectif entre urbanistes, architectes, artistes qui se sont fondés en 1999, qui travaillent à Berlin et qui sont souvent dans des questions urbaines, une démarche expérimentale, surtout interdisciplinaire et avec un grand engagement qui est aussi relié avec une participation des habitants ou des acteurs qui sont concernés. Alors, Raum Labor, c'est 8 personnes, je les nomme, Francesco Apuzzo, Markus Bader, Benjamin Förster, Baldenius, Andrea Hoffmann, Jan Liesegang, Christoph Meyer, Matthias Rick, qui est avec nous, et Axel Tim. Donc, ils sont en train de travailler sur beaucoup de projets. Je connais quelques-uns, donc c'est aussi peut-être pour cette raison-là, je pense que c'était intéressant de les inviter dans le cadre du workshop. Je ne vais pas les nommer, les projets, il va nous montrer surtout plusieurs là ce soir. Peut-être quelques mots sur Matthias Rick. Il est né en 1965 à Versmold. Je ne sais pas où c'est d'ailleurs. Où est-ce que
Next to Bielefeld.
Okay.
Between Bielefeld and Münster.
À côté de Bielefeld, Münster, c'est plutôt déjà l'Allemagne du Nord pour quelqu'un du Sud, comme moi. Il a fait des études d'architecture à l'Université technique de Berlin, mais il n'a pas que fait des études d'architecture, il a été aussi, il a fondé un groupe de performance de musique qui s'appelle Moorpaul. Et il était actif, ce groupe était actif de 1991 jusqu'au 1998. Donc il avait déjà peut-être aussi là une deuxième activité qui était en réalité complémentaire, je pense qu'ils font actuellement. En 1997, il fondait, où il y avait la fondation de l'Institut de l'art de construction appliquée. En allemand, c'est Institut für angewandte Baukunst, où il était un assistant ou un proche, on peut dire, de professeur Horst Antes. Pour ceux qui connaissent un peu la scène artistique allemande, c'est quelqu'un assez connu dans le milieu berlinois aussi. En 2001, il a fait son diplôme à la TU Berlin, donc il a pris son temps pour faire ses études, contrairement à ce qu'on demande aujourd'hui des étudiants d'archi. Peut-être c'est un bon signe aussi. De prendre son temps. Et depuis 2002, il est membre de ce collectif Raum Labor. Et depuis 2005, il est aussi architecte libéral parce que la structure de Raum Labor, c'est un peu le bureau dans le bureau. Donc chacun apporte ses projets, le fait dans le cadre de cette structure, mais il est aussi indépendant. Donc c'est pas dans le sens une structure classique où on travaille tous sur le même projet. Et depuis 2009, il est professeur à l'Académie des Beaux-Arts et des Design à Prague et il vit à Berlin. Donc je laisse la parole maintenant à Matthias Rick et je vous souhaite surtout une bonne conférence et beaucoup de projets intéressants. Alors la question qui se pose, est-ce qu'on fait la conférence en allemand ou en anglais? Alors, en allemand, en anglais, en allemand, en anglais.
So,
en anglais?
Hands for allemand.
Hands up for English. Wow. Okay.
And hands up for French.
For French, it's impossible.
Okay, English one. Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my first kind of TGV lecture. I just arrived and I will directly leave after this lecture, like Rem Koolhaas coming with a helicopter, and this is not typical. I'm sorry, I would like to stay a little bit longer, and I hope I will have another opportunity to come back. And but I thank you for the nice introduction. I have to go to Prague this night because I have students there, and they are awaiting me tomorrow morning. So I will go with the night train from Offenburg directly to Prague. It's very nice. Okay, my name is Matthias Rick, and today I will tell you a little bit about Raumlabor, Space Laboratory, the collective I work with. We are working together since 1999, and my lecture calls Desire, Some Ideas for Better Cities. To understand this, I first will show you the background. So we are the generation, the beginning 40s. I'm the oldest one. I'm in the middle of the 40s. So, but when I was young, when I was a child and younger, maybe do you know this? I grew up with this kind of comics. They call it Baba Papa. It's Italian. And so I just show you these pictures because I think it has an influence to us and to our thinking. So you know, if you look TV as a child and you see all the time these things, it has influence how you will continue your life. So this is something. When I was young, this is something. This was really actual in the discussion. So there was a kind of transformation process from this modernization or modern ideas back to the tradition, or back to the historical meanings of city. This is what this comic is talking about. So Baba Papas lived in a very nice old house, but the house was demolished and they had to move in this wonderful new city, you know, high-rise area and satellite city made by these planners, very proud planners. And but you see, they don't really fit in this city. So. They were really unhappy and they started to move out. They invented this new building material called Babaplast. And with Babaplast, they started to build their own house, you know, which is exactly fitting to their own needs and habits. And they started to have this wonderful life in their paradise. This is the background. Now, before I will show some projects, I show you. I will try to communicate what we are thinking, how we work, and this is. I have some movies. This is the first one, which will show you. It's a kind of manifest.
Hello, this is Raumlabor Berlin. Our working environment is the city, the generator of society. The process of a place becoming a city is urbanity. Urbanity is not created simply by buildings, but primarily by the spaces in between. Urbanity and thus the city are constant states of transformation, triggered by its inhabitants that trust their city, on a search for possibilities of fulfilling their desires. Without trust, there is no chance for urbanity. The contemporary city, its borders, its appearance and its rules are rapidly changing. Inhabitants are losing an overview of their city. They are losing a sense of their influence, shaping their own environment. The fear of a shrinking or rapidly growing city, of a dangerous or deadly boring city, the fear of a city of exclusion, gentrification, slumification, surveillance and religious extremism is growing. The inhabitants structure their life in relation to their fears rather than their potentials. The result is a drained public space. Urbanity becomes lost. We have to reflect on urbanity as it appears in real time, in real places, with real people. We have to make journeys into the real world, note our experiences, and take our decisions from here. It's important to understand that solving problems does not mean offering solutions, but asking questions. Slightly amplifying situations might lead us further than the architecture of good intentions. Architects should be the moderators and curators of re-urbanification. We have to create spaces of negotiation. We must be the quarterbacks for the pioneers of a new urbanity. We must open doors, find gaps in rules, describe perspectives and visualize scenarios. We have to design the training ground for experiments in thinking and doing. We have to propose ideas for better cities.
So what you just saw here is, I hope you understood that our focus is on the city, it's on public space, and our fields of work, we divided our work in 3 categories. The first category we call relational fetish object. This is our understanding of architecture. Our focus on architecture is on the relation. We believe that that there are 2 issues which are the most important for architecture. It's construction. Without good construction, it cannot stay, right? And relation, because without a relation to the existing city, it makes no sense. So we are concentrating on relation, and this means that our design is research-based. So and we try to develop site-specific solutions, architectural solutions. Just show very fast some examples. And the second layer is urban strategies. So we try to see this in this complexity, and urban strategies means for us, on one hand, for sure, the conventional top-down view, and but also the one-to-one experiment. It's the tension between these different scales. And this means a very intensive subjective urban research, and this means also participation of different specialists, also the citizens. And we are developing kind of development strategies for urban areas. We are thinking in redefining topics like speed and efficiency. So this is, for example, this is a model. This is called Venetian Bridge, which tries to communicate that the development of city areas should have more time, like 5 years, to stimulate ideas, to find programs, to find diversity and other things. So we think we are thinking in procedural strategies, and the third field is action intervention. It's a question of event. It's creating site-specific situative narratives, and out of these narratives, we develop a story. For the site, which starts to be part of the history of the place. So, for sure, these fields you can never see alone. It's a very complex thing, and every project we do is somehow related to every of these categories. Very important for us is collaboration. We in Raum Labor, we are 8. I forgot to tell you, but we are 8 partners. but in our office at the moment we are like 25 people. We have free workers and interns working with us, but we are all architects. So if we have a task and if we start on a project, we first start this research, and then we look what kind of knowledge we need, and we look for a kind of collaboration. And this collaboration is very important to develop the process further. And this can be different disciplines, can be engineers, can be sociologists, but also citizens. So for us, the citizens are also very important because they are the specialists of the space. They have the knowledge about history. They have the desires. They know about these psychological problems and all these things. And with these specialists from these different disciplines, we work also together in all these different categories, and they work together. So we start to create a project-specific network. This as little bit conceptual explanation how we work. Now I will start to underline it with some projects. The first one I have chosen, it's an older one. And this is, we worked together. I have chosen this project to show because we worked together with some people from France, from Paris, called Exist, and Group Exist. We are still collaborating very often. We are brothers in mind. And they studied here at this school, right? Some of them. So this project called The Mountain, Der Berg. It was located in the center of East Berlin. I cannot say center of Berlin because Berlin don't have a center. Berlin is a kind of schizophrenic city. It's a conglomeration of different cities with different centers. So this is one center which went to be very important after the unification. It's the Schlossplatz, Castle Square. It's a place where the Palace of the Republic was located. Palace of the Republic was a place on one side for the GDR government, parliament, but this was only a small part of the building. And there was another big part of the building. This was a huge event space where they had TV shows, concerts, and this kind of stuff. In the middle, there was a big atrium, a big hall, a big gallery, which was a kind of public space. But this Palace of the Republic was built in the end of the 70s, and in the before the war, there was this. It was a place of a German castle, of the Berlin Castle, and the Berlin Castle was destroyed somehow. Destroyed in the war, during the war, and in the 50s bombed away by Walter Ulbricht. So, and then there was this big abandoned space for 20 years, and they started to develop the Palace of the Republic. But after unification, there started a big discussion about the identity of Berlin, of Germany, of this nation, because what we like to have in the center of the city. Do we want to have a socialistic building, right? But or do we need back this kind of Prussian heart? And in the end, you see it here, the side of the Prussian heart won, and they decided to demolish the Palace of the Republic. And now there is nothing. Maybe some of you know Berlin. There's a big lawn at the moment. It's still this kind of abandoned area. But there's a plan to rebuild the Prussian castle. I think they like to start in 2013, but it's not clear if they will do. But there was a time in the middle of the 2000s, beginning and middle of the 2000s, where we were able to use the palace, the ruin of the palace, as a playground, as an experimental playground. And so in collaboration with different theaters and an urbanist initiatives called Urban Catalyst. which part of this initiative was also Philipp Oswald, who is the director of Bauhaus in Dessau at the moment, or Klaus Overmaier, who is the leader of a very important, from my view, important urban planning offices in Germany at the moment. And then they called this, there was this call for ideas for this castle square. And we were invited for this call for ideas, and this was our proposal, to make a mountain massif inside of the center of Berlin. Because artificial mountains are very important for Berlin. After the war, all buildings from the demolished, all the stuff from the demolished buildings, they were putting to some areas, and they created these artificial mountains. But also there's an artificial mountain which is much older, which is crowned by Schinkel, by a little monument, and this kind of things. And so this artificial mountain is important, but also this mountain is a symbol of that there will be never a solution for this place. You know, there are millions of ideas in the drawers of the city and of the architects for this place. So, and if you put all these ideas on top of each other, you also have this kind of mountain. But this was only an idea. But what this is a kind of utopia, but what we like is to realize our utopies. This is why we are collaborating with theaters. There's this link with theaters. Theaters need us to go out into the city. We need the theaters to realize our ideas. So we collaborated with the theaters another year inside of the palace, and we developed the project, The Mountain. And here you see the first collages of the mountain, and this is the big, huge event hall inside of the palace, which was incredible because it had a very unique event technique. The tribunes you could move, and you had this elevator stage and all the things. Yes, and then we invited Exist, because we knew they are specialists, architects and specialists in building with scaffolding, and asked them to build with us this mountain inside of the palace. And this is a movie from Exist. I will show you now. So this is only one part of the mountain. The mountain was much more than only an enlightened object. It was a structure which was somehow in concurrence with the structure of the palace, and it was, I think, more than 180 people were working there together, architects and planners, but also a lot of theater peoples and performers, because you could walk through this mountain, and we developed different ways to discover the mountain and also discover the relation between the mountain and the palace. And these ways were the climber's path and the philosopher's path and the pilgrim's path. So, and these were kind of station theater. So every path had, I think, 9 to 12 stations where theater groups or artist groups or performers were dealing with this theme and with this situation. This, for the example, at the end of the philosopher's path on the balcony with a view over the castle square. And here you see an image from the outside. What we also did is building a small hotel. We called it Hotel Mountain Crystal, because it's for us very important to bring people in a special way into this kind of situations. So one way is to be a visitor inside of the spectacle with thousands of people in the opening times, and the other way was having this exclusive moment of being one of the ones who were able to rent one of these 4 rooms of our little hotel. And the hotel was, you see here we had 4 rooms like carved out of the mountain, put it somehow together in the footprint outside of the mountain, and with special qualities. The Schinkel room had a special view on this vision of Schinkel. Schinkel, maybe you know, an architect from the 19th century who built a kind of vision of society in this center, and also panorama room or palace room, so, and tea room, which was the room where you had a special relation to each other. And full service hotel for sure, and built together with students from different universities, from Cottbus and Berlin, in a workshop. It was a design and building workshop, and with all luxury you can imagine, with own lake and big kitchen to where we created kind of big collective dinners in the evening, which is very important for us to have this kind of collective experiences at these sites. Yeah, I just continue. If somebody has a question, interrupt me, stop me, otherwise I will continue talking. Yeah. Now this was a fight. Yeah. Now you can imagine this is not so easy. This is a political thing, and it was an initiative by us in collaboration with one theater called Sophienseele, with the director Amelie Deufelhardt, and we worked very hard to realize this. And there is a foundation in Berlin called Berlin Cultural Foundation. And there was a director, she really liked this, and we got the money from this foundation for this project. And it was a big risk for this theater, because they invested a lot of money also by their own private, the theater money. So, but we all were convinced that it will be successful, and it was opened, I think, for 8 or 9 weeks, and we had 40,000 visitors, because it was also the first time after more than after like 15 years. So the palace was closed in 1991 because of asbestos. So this was the reason to close it. And since 1991, the people were not able to visit the palace. So they could visit the middle part, but not the big hall. And yeah, this was so this is also a reason why so many people came, because they knew they will lose their space, this kind of space of identification, because for the East Germans it was a building of identification, and this was also very interesting inside of this performances, right? Inside of the passes. Especially at the end of the Philosopher's Pass on this table, when the people just came together and were drinking tea and eating grapes and talking about their experiences, and a lot of people came with these memories, what this building was for them in the past. But also people came who knew the castle, you know, very old people who knew the castle before, and this was interesting. So this is now a very actual project. We were invited by Sejima for the biennial Biennale in Venice this year, and to make a project. And we decided to make an outside project in the Giardini. Do you know I think you know the Biennale in Venice and the Giardini and Arsenale and these things. And our idea was to develop a strategy. We tried out the first time in France, in Bordeaux, and we developed the idea of a chair for an exhibition in Bordeaux. I think it was last year. The Chairs Bordelais. There's a building manual, and there's material, and there are tools in the exhibitions, and people can build the chairs by themselves. So, and this Chairs Bordelais was a special chair, and we thought, okay, we can maybe we can invent something new, and we try to can add another meaning to the chair, using the chair also as a kind of building unit for a megastructure, right? So we designed this new chair, which is a chair which you can see here. You can use it in two ways: a low chair and a higher chair, and you can use it as a building, like a stone for built spatial structures. Yeah, this is in our office. We have a big hall where we can make this kind of experiments, and the idea was to bring a mobile workshop to Venice, to the Giardini. That people can start building chairs and can start forming atmospheres like cinema, or building spatial structures and making dinners and this kind of thing. Yes, this is a chair in Venice, the single chair. Yeah, and this was our workshop. So. We built this workshop. These are two working tables. There is a manual how you build the chairs. I think yes, it's here. Yeah, it's graviert. So you have it on the table, right? This manual and you see it's a kind of stencil where you can put in the parts, that it's very easy for everybody to build the chairs. So the drills are there, the screws are there, and so also people from us were there advising or answering questions, and people started to build. Also this girl you see, and this is chair number 197. She was very proud. And yeah, and people took the chairs also, you know. Was allowed, right? And this was funny because but they wanted to take them. They realized, oh, I cannot bring them to Paris, where I'm from, so I leave it somewhere. So the chair went to be a little virus spreading out all over this Giardini area. Also into the pavilions. This is nice. Was a nice effect. Yeah, and this is a wall. This is one of these spatial structures we built. We built 3 different spatial structures. This is our living wall next to the workshop. This was in the beginning, right? So after we left, we were there at the beginning, opening, and the first week. After we left, they closed the workshop, and the people were not allowed anymore to climb into they were afraid that something will happen, and they don't had the potential to take care of everything. But we also had not the budget and the potential to do this for 3.5 months. So it was just after the first week, it was exposed as something what happened before. But when we were there, it was very nice, very nice thing. And we also were invited with another project. We have since a few years, I will show later, the Kitchen Monument. Kitchen Monument was there to host different events, conferences, quiz shows, and this kind of stuff. And also for this, we built the chairs there. Here you see a conference organized by Harvard. Very famous people were sitting in our object. And this was the setup for the quiz show. And filled up with people. And this is our second structure, a mountain next to the entrance at Giardini. And here, this is a detail of the third structure. It's a tribune. It's on this island next to the Greek pavilion. Yes, and also a pity it was not allowed anymore later to sit on the tribune. You had this sign, "Don't touch, it's art." It's not. It was not meant. It was not meant like this in the beginning. So when it was used, it was much nicer, I think. And yeah, just 2 weeks ago we got a photo sent by email from somebody.
Where is it?
Oh, this is in the Alps. I know. I don't know exactly where it is. It's in the. I think it's Italian Alps. And yes, The Chase Borderless manual is published on our website, and this manual, we are slow, but it's freeware. So if you look on our website, maybe soon, the Chase Borderless you can just build, and soon you can also have the manual of this chair. Some little break for maybe. I continue. Now it's this. I just show you this. What I'm showing you at the moment are kind of tools. We use sometimes alone. They like the chair. But you will see later in the project. I will show that this all the things can also come together and create a bigger, very complex project. Bubble textures. You saw some images of the Kitchen Monument, and I will start with the Kitchen Monument. This was built by an invitation of a German city called Duisburg. Duisburg is part of the Ruhr area, which is European cultural capital at the moment. It's a former industrial region, mainly coal mines and steel plants. Duisburg was the big inner harbor, the biggest inner harbor of the world and of Europe, and at the River Rhine. And but since the 50s, there's a big restructuring process. So the mines are closing, this industry is collapsing, and there's a transformation process. Maybe you are architects, you know that there was a IBA, International Building Exhibition, IBA, like transforming this industrial landscape in a cultural landscape, and in tradition of this, they are working at the moment also with this cultural capital. But they have all these problems you have in all these cities like this in Europe. Shrinking, people are leaving, inner cities are empty because you have shopping centers in the periphery, and you only have this kind of cheap shops, €1 shops and these things, and people lose their relation to their city. And what the theme of the festival was what to believe in, and we were asked to build a project in public space which is discovering the relation between privacy and public, and which is able to develop identity, urban identity, somehow like this. And we have chosen first the monument as a tool or as our issue, because monuments are very important in this area. So this artificial coal mine hills are crowned now with objects, with art objects like from Richard Serra and other famous artists. And in Duisburg, in the center of Duisburg, in the end of the 90s, there was built a fountain called Life Saver by Niki de Sanfal and Jean Tingoli. And this went very fast to be an image, a new image of the city, lifesaver, you know. And so we thought, okay, the monument is one, but we are also trying to look behind the meaning of things, and we try to add something. And we looked in this in the history, and we found the Trojan horse as a mobile monument. And because monument must be mobile, because city identity cannot only we cannot only develop on one place, so we need more places and or sites of this in this inner city, and there's something hidden inside. And yeah, this is just an image for architects, which is showing the relation between architecture and space. And but this is our army inside of this monument. So this festival was 4 weeks. We have chosen 4 sites in the city, and on every site this monument was located. And then it was just there for 1 week, and then the 7th day the hidden door opened, and this plastic rolled out, and we started to inflate it, and this kind of new soft bubble space developed. Here you see somehow the relation. It's fixed with water canisters, because you can imagine if wind is the biggest enemy of this kind of structure. So we need some weight, which is fixing this structure. In Germany, you need less weight than in England. What is creating identity? What is the relation? What kind of space is showing the relation between privacy and public best? Right. This is a kitchen. So the kitchen is the space in the private where you invite people, you know, the foreigners, and so we thought to bring the kitchen out in the city, but not the kitchen itself, because the kitchen, the furnitures are not so unique, because everybody is buying the furnitures by IKEA or something, right? But but it's interesting how the people are cooking, what they are cooking, and talking about this. So this area, it was an industrial area. It's a multicultural area. You have people there from all over the world, so what we did is we made a research in the neighborhood of the site, and we asked people to come to our kitchen to cook there together and invite their families and friends. Very simple. And this we did. So we invited different people from this, and there was this kind of crossover of identities, and we cooked and we talked about cooking, and It was very nice. It was one day, one evening, one very special evening. And after this dinner, we closed everything, we deflated the bubble, and we moved the monument. This is maybe, here you can see how it works. There is this ramp. The monument itself is the entrance. It's also a lock. We have this plexi curtains inside at the door where that's, which is holding the pressure somehow, but if the pressure is too big, it's open by itself. And you see here, this is a ventilator here. And this ventilator is continuously blowing wind inside. And yes, and this was important for us to put it here because this is kind of a border, right, between this situation and that situation. And it was funny for the people to walk and to understand how it works. You know, you feel that something is changing. Yes, and important is the transparency. So what we are using is this material. It's polyethylene, which you can buy everywhere in the building market to cover scaffoldings and this kind of things. It's reinforced, so it's kind of transparent, but it's not like transparent PVC. It has a kind of structure, so it's a little bit diffuse, and yeah. This is, and then we moved, right? I told you that we moved. This is a new site. This is where we. So we were looking for special places, especially places where people cannot imagine events like a banquet, you know, like here underneath this highway bridge. And here you can see that it's not a high pressure system, it's very soft. It's melting somehow with the situation. And the same system. And this was our cook. It was our specialist. We asked him to be the advisor. So if you are somewhere and you go to the kiosk and you ask the kiosk owner, hey, nice that you are here. We are coming with a monument and we have a big bubble. Don't you want to cook in this side of this bubble and invite all your family? And then he is asking for how many people I should cook, and you say, oh, between 90 or 100. So then he is shy, right? He is saying, oh, I cannot. But what we also offer is this situation that we say, okay, everything is done. You know, there are tables. We have a cook. He's helping you. You can deliver the recipe, and he is calculating, and he is buying. He is going to the market, buying the things, and you are not alone. There will be, you know, this family from the other side of the street. Maybe you don't know them, but they will also cook, and this kind of things. Yes. Yeah, this was very successful, and we got a lot of requests, and we also realized until this moment we built site-specific, right? Site-specific temporary architectures, and kind of we call it prototypes, and also for us this I told you about this relation monument and this city and this stuff. We realized that this system of the box and this very simple space extension is. We realized that this can be a universal tool, and this is also interesting for other people. So our telephone was gleeing, but also for us, we realized that we can use it to discover also other things, and so we started to travel after this festival. So until now it never ended. You saw it also in Venice. We started to travel. This is Hamburg. This is a city called Mülheim, and we transformed. So we changed the function inside. So we transformed it to neighborhood parties, or this was kind of dance teas. Here you see it in Warsaw. We used it for a conference about public art, and this is in Liverpool. In Liverpool, this is a wonderful picture, how it's just wrapping the things. I like this street lamp, the lantern, you know, how it's part of how it looks like to be inside, but it's outside. And yeah, this was for making workshops. The inner periphery of Liverpool we were discovering with this the situation, also by commissioned by the biennial. Right, and this is one of these abandoned workers' areas, but it's not really abandoned. Maybe 80% of the houses are empty, but the other 20% still people living, and they live there for, you know, for 30, 40, 50 years. And this will be, now it's demolished, it's not there anymore. But we also made this kind of party there, and people never expect this, are very poor people, right? Everybody told us, don't do this, you know, they will kill you, they will destroy everything. And but it was okay, you know, they were very proud, you know, that we were coming and doing this. And yeah, it was very, yeah, and here, again, final picture of this project. This was in Venice next to the Italian pavilion. The monument is still there, but it's not inflated. Just the box. So, and now, because, what is the time? I have some more time, right? You are not tired? So this was now the first third of my lecture. And after the kitchen monument, so the kitchen monument was, we discovered some problems, right? This is a box, this is a transformed building wagon, but it's not able, so it has wheels. The wheels are covered by these metal sheets, so it's only covered, they are still there, but you cannot just use it as a trailer anymore. You need somebody coming with a trailer and transporting it all the time. And we were thinking about new possibilities and things, and we started to invent new variations. And I just go through a few of them. Star Grinder, Sternenschleifer, Star Grinder, a project we did in Graz. This is invited by a festival, traveling through this area called Steiermark, collecting stories, making audio stories out of it, and developing star pictures out of these stories and showing it in our planetarium. So this caravan is a planetarium, and how it works you see here. The caravan was traveling around collecting stories, and after this transformation process, you could go into the caravan, lying there on a mattress, seeing the star pictures and hearing a kind of reflection of this story about the dead priest or this kind of specific things. Another one, we were invited by the Storefront Gallery for Art and Architecture in New York to bring the kitchen monument. So we realized the kitchen monument was not built intelligent for our times, because it's higher than 3 meters, and to transport it to New York by ship, if things are bigger than a container, right, it's expensive. This is really expensive. If it fits in a container, you pay almost nothing, but if it's bigger, like this kitchen monument. So, and then we decided, okay, we can build a second variation of kitchen monument for the same money as for the transport costs. And we developed this project called Spacebuster. Spacebuster, we bought a very cheap old step van in New York. We made this drawing outside because it was for a gallery, it was an exhibition, but we were traveling through New York, Manhattan, Brooklyn with this car, and you see it's the same strategy: open the back, bubble inside, rolling out, inflating, making events. Here in the yard, a dinner and projections. This is another yard, cinema evening, and this is Manhattan Bridge. We made workshops with architecture universities, different universities inside. Yeah, and so it's fast because I just show you this kind of impressions. And another one is called Bala Bala. We were invited in Madrid for building kind of bubble structure for a conference, but it was on a roof terrace. And I had really doubts because why we should do something, a bubble on a roof terrace. But friends of us, you know, and it's called Urban Action, and they wanted just to show these initiatives and different people. And I had doubts because you never can go to a roof terrace with this kind of vans or, you know, caravans or things like this. So we tried to find a way how to minimize this strategy, and we developed, we had this idea to have this kind of bicycle with a box and to have everything in the box. So we had to minimize, you see here, we don't have space, so we try to avoid having this water canisters. So we used ropes, belts, and to fix the belts outside on some existing things. And this is somehow what we did. The bubble is smaller, right? But yeah, and it's fixed with these belts, and the belts are fixed on this kind of terrace system. And you see here, we don't have this box as the entrance, so we just developed with a partner. Here it was a group called Luft und Laune, Air and Leisure, or something from Zurich. Kitchen monument we built with a specialist from Plastic Fantastic from Berlin. Yeah, and then this is, so there's a cut, right? And it's just, by the pressure it's closed, and if you would like to go out, you can just go through. And very simple, this side is, you see, you place for flyers and the whiskey bar. Other side, we had a big, inside of this doors, kind of sound system, and the mini plug where you can put your iPod and just have big, good sound. Yeah. Yeah, and also conferences, discussions, and this was a lecture, and we not the PVC floor. What we bought was this kind of plastic from recycled plastic made Arabic praying carpets because they are very light and just and nice if you have this and sitting on pillows and yeah. Okay, the next one is called Rosie. The ballerina. It's we built for London for a group called Up Projects. They have a public art kind of public art festival every year called Portavillion, and they invite artists to build a kind of mobile pavilion to host kind of events. This year it was an event called Big Dance. It was a collaboration of different dance institutions, from ballet to free dance companies and so on, and the Architectural Festival of London. So there was a kind of mixture. But we developed this kind of. We thought, okay, how we can make this story visible, like how we can make the content visible inside of this object. And we developed a story of Rosie. Rosie is a girl, and her biggest desire was being a ballerina, but it's a very sad story. It was she had an accident, and she were never able to be a ballerina. So this object, Rosie, is somehow was the idea. It's that Rosie was living in this caravan, and the bubble is somehow the realization of her dream, and then they had these demands of different spatial demands inside of the bubble, and we talked about, you know, and I said we are not experimenting with bubble shapes. We are not creating fancy bubbles and structures. We are building all the time this very simple thing. It's like a bulb. It's very easy to, we can also do it by ourselves, because you only need one one shape, and then you cut it, and every shape has it's the same, and you can glue it together. And then, but the idea was very simple. We just built 3 bubbles in different sizes, right? And then we put them together. So it's yeah. So and then we system is the same. You see, it's the Caravan of Rosie, a little bit kitschy. We worked with this story and this idea. And I go back. I told you in England we had to use more weight. So in Germany we need 650 kilos weight for the bubble. In England for this we need 4 tons. So it's every city is special in this negotiation to get the permission to do this, because nobody knows how it works. It's very special. And yes, so what I wanted to say is we combined the system: tanks, water canisters inside, and belts outside. And the belts outside should look like the ribbons of ballet shoes, right? This. And here you see, this was the first site next to the Tower Bridge, and was a kind of lounge of Rosie. This is the space inside, and was kind of dance performances for children and experimental workshops and a lot of other things. That's what 15 spaces from May to September in London. So they also had cinema and all. But this looks then it's the same like the other objects. And now this is the last one called Bang Bang. Bang. This is in Korea. So we were invited to South Korea last year. Was this invitation to participate in a public art festival called Anyang Public Art Project 2010, and the first thing they ask us is to build a satellite kind of tool for them to communicate the ideas of the festival, because the idea of the theme of the festival was community and working with community and dealing with community things. And the artists they wanted to invite were artists who are working with communities and developing strategies for this work with communities. And they asked us to build a first satellite which is somehow communicating this idea. And Bang Bang means Bang is somehow it's a Korean room. It means space. It means room. And it's in the traditional Korean house. It was a center room, this multifunctional center room. But the traditional Korean house is not existing anymore, and because they have this super fast urbanization process. You will see later a little bit more of this. And these bangs transformed into this urban infrastructures. So you have inside you have shops, or it's not really shops. They call this kind of DVD bang, right? It's not only a DVD rental. They also have rooms where you can just go with your family inside of, and you can rent the DVD, and you have the projector, and you can sit there and see the DVD together. You have homework bangs where the pupils can go to make homework together. You have jimji bangs, bath houses, and you have this Noribangs. Noribangs is karaoke, so you have karaoke places. You have board game bangs and this kind of thing. So there is a bang culture, and this is why we called it Bang Bang, because this is a multi-bang, right? This should make everything possible. And this is also what we try to translate into the system. You saw Bala Bala in Madrid. This was kind of reducing, and we wanted to try out the maximum. So this is Bang Bang is like a Swiss knife. You have a lot of possibilities. This you see here, right? We have this big bubble in the back. We have extensions to the side. Here you see a bubble to the side. We have a bubble on the roof. And on the other side, we have a movable wall with a panorama window. And yes, and like you see here, you don't have to use everything together. And this is a diagram that you have. You can use a big bubble alone. You can use the top bubble alone. You can use big bubble, top bubble together, and all this kind of things. So the idea was that so it should be used by for promotion, but it should be used also as tool for the artists, for the invited artists. We used it by ourselves, so it should make a lot of different things possible. And yeah, I just show some images. Conference here, concert. You know, this was funny. The group is inside of the bubble. The audience is outside. This I really like. This is without bubble, right? This was somehow they made a big party with DJs. And this is inside of a neighborhood, very attractive for children. Making workshops, and yeah, this was also, it's an attractor, you know, it was somehow, it worked really well in Korea, I have to say. This is students, they made workshops there, working on models, and yeah, I was traveling around and went to be a symbol for this festival. And before, some questions? Before I continue, because the next project I will show you is this one. You see here, this, I have to tell a little bit about the idea of this festival. The artist director of the festival is Kyung Park. We were invited because we know him very well since a few years, and he likes our work, so he invited us. Because it was about community, and he invited us because he thought we have to be part of this if the festival is about community. And the idea was that there are a lot of artists somewhere working inside of the city. You see it outside, you know, you see a lot of names of artists from all over the world and from Korea working inside of different communities, but this work is not really visible. Like sculptures from Richard Serra, you know, it's very visible, but if you have an artist like Rick Lowe, for example, he's from Houston, Texas, he's dealing with people, and you don't have this visible result. So how can you make this energy of all this 35 invited artists visible? So we decided to have a center, to find a space, a site, which we called Community Center, a new community center, because title of the festival was New Community, and the site was New Community Center. And we decided we need to build some architectural infrastructures also there. First was the idea to transform abandoned building, but they don't have abandoned buildings, so we need to build architecture. So different architectural groups were invited to build inside of this new community center. So it was low-tech from New York. They built with containers. Maybe you know they made this Puma pavilion, right, with the containers, and they built a building called Open School as a kind of workshop and educational center. Then Mass Studies, it's architects from Seoul. They built a building called Open Pavilion, and we were invited to build a building called Open House, like the house for the community. And Bang Bang, you see Bang Bang, it's like this satellite in the middle of the green, was somehow the thing which should be there to connect everything. Okay, I show you our open house project. Permanent temporary. is something which came out now from this experience, because we build temporary. This is our idea. I think it's not possible to build permanent. So but the demands of the city hall was to have a permanent art object. And so our trick was, in the end, in this negotiations, to call it permanent temporary. Maybe you can, maybe you will understand it later, but maybe not. But then maybe it's senseless. I don't know. So what we built is kind of vertical village. A vertical village. This is a map. It's based on a spatial structure made out of it's a steel structure. It's different platforms on different heights. It's in altogether 7 platforms. In the middle of these platforms, there's a little tower, and this filled up. This kind of landscape structure is filled up with houses, with wooden houses. A platform is 5 to 5 meter, and the house, the footprint of a house is 2.50 meters to 2.50 meters. And now I like to show you why and how we build it. Back to Korea. This was my first Asian experience. I was never in Asia, so it was I had big concerns in the beginning how I can work with communities in a culture I don't know. And so when I was there the first time, I was really shocked. I know that there is a fast urbanism, but if you see it how it is in reality, it's totally different than if you see pictures in books or see some magazines or this kind of things. What you see here in the foreground, these houses are maybe a maximum of 40 years old. So the statistics say that 95% of all buildings in Korea are younger than 35 years. So they, in the 70s, they started totally to redevelop the whole country. They demolished the whole traditional house system. You can understand it somehow because there was no technical infrastructure. They were washing in the rivers, and there was this really fast modernization process. And they built this somehow dense 2 to 4 story high living and mini business neighborhoods. And since the last 20 years, they start to redevelop these areas, so they erase everything again, and they build this 20 to 40 story high-rise building areas everywhere. So this is somehow what I don't understand from my reality, because we all know, also you know it, you have this 60s high-rise building areas in the peripheries. You have all these problems there, technical problems with the buildings because the tech was building very poor. It's also very poor here, the technical construction, and all the social problems are somehow concentrated there, and so there's a lot of things we are in our society dealing with this situation and trying to avoid to continue. But this is the main hype. This is the mainstream, and everybody wants to live in this kind of apartments. But there's no invention, right? It's nothing new. It's really poor. It's no spatial qualities, and yeah. But we realized when I started to talk with the people, so we were collaborating. We started to find partners. We found a group called Collective Terrain, young architects from Seoul. We were collaborating with them. We found other people who started to support us with translation and to understand the things. And we realized that it's very fast, and so the traditions are disappearing. It's not visible in the city anymore, but the people still, so the minds are very conservative. So they are still very traditional in their thinking and habits. And And another thing is that that is an urbanication process, very fast. That of this city, 80% of the people are from the countryside. So they are very new there, and it's more a nomadic society, and they don't see this as their home, but they have this desire. And this is just, if you look on this, and it's a question of what kind of viewpoint you have, how you see this. Somehow they try to, there is also this Californian dream visible, right? Okay, here you see the situation, and here you see this stripe, this green stripe is a park, and inside of this park, it's very far on the top. On the top there is this triangle. This triangle on the top there is the location of the festival. But here you see how you have this kind of 30, 40-year-old areas left there in the middle, and the monster, the beast, is coming. And they know that maybe in 2 years this will be redeveloped, and they will demolish everything, and the high-rise buildings will be built. So we thought, okay, our house has somehow to be a kind of bridge between, and I don't have the solution, you know, I cannot tell them how they have to live, and but I realized that there is a big unsureness, and that the people lose their relation, and that they don't know what is coming in the future because it's too fast. So we thought we need somehow a space where they can start to rest and where they can start to think, and what was somehow missing. And so this is we did this intensive research. We made this was one part of our work. We called it Open Master Plan. Master Plan is a word game. Open and Master Plan, it's not working together, but it's what we are thinking. It's more a dynamic research and planning process. This is kind of mapping the potentials of our view. We also, there's some details. This is kind of processes which you find inside of the city, how people deal with junk. You know, there's a business between junkyard and collectors and users later, and also this how these buildings are structured, and you have this little mobile business inside of the city, and so we discovered a lot of things, and tried to bring it into the relation of our side, of our community center, and the design of Open House is very much linked to our experiences and the results of this mapping. We have more maps. One that was a 4-layer urban research: potential, desire, process, and vision. And to show all these things, it's too complex and too much, but some things, traces of the desire of the people you see. So gardening, planting, relation to landscape. They start to use the smallest possibilities to plant. Not flowers, they plant paprika and cabbage and this kind of things, salad, right? And this is the rooftop, and this looks like a field, right? They have pots, and they organize it like a field, right? And this is very interesting. So this was very soon, it was clear that part of our community center has to be a community garden. We started to collaborate with these artists. So one artist is Giacomo Castagnola from Mexico. He built kind of bikes to rent for the festival, and we started to collaborate with another artist called Maritica Potric from Slovenia, and we made a workshop called Mobile Planting Station. So we used the bikes, we went into the communities, we organized from the recycling yards pots for free, and we started to plant plants, and the people could just, their little sign with their names, and so they had their own personal plants. This is a movie, just you see, so we start, this was Marius This is Yang He from Collective Terrain, looking for the things. On the junkyard. This was before we started to build. You know, we used this somehow to start to link the people with the site. So we went into the communities. They planted. Then we took the plants. We put them into the park. And a few days later, maybe it was a child. A few days later, the child came with his parents and showed, and this is my plant. Look, and this kind of things. I show this public the first time in a lecture. There is a blog. It's called Raum Labor Korea. If you put Raum Labor Korea in Google, then there is a blog, and in this blog you can you can see the whole process of a few months' work there. Yeah, setting up a planting station somewhere, and people came by themselves. So this is our park. This was after we did this 3 times. This was after the first time, and we found this guy. This guy is a retired taxi driver and a passionate farmer, and he's our farmer now. He's just he's taking care of the community garden. He's not doing everything, but he's there, and I hope he's still there. And these are teenagers from high school. We made also this kind of mapping workshop. So they went out into the city and they made interviews. They discovered their neighborhoods and talking with different people, right? And this is just their notes they made from their work, from their walks. And then we started to make a collective map. This is inside of Open School. This is this low-tech building. This was built as first, and this was finished in April. And yes, and you see it's a wonderful map showing all this, this neighborhood out of the view of this children. And then we asked them to make some speed designs of improving some spaces and inventing some new ideas. And we discussed this kind of these designs. They are between 16 and 17 years old. Yeah, and this is somehow the map, just the result of. We called it Urban Detective. It was 2 days. Each day is 4 hours. Very intensive and very successful workshop. And this was our first design of open house. So you see these platforms and the tower. This one is 26 meter high. The first design. In reality, we built a 17-meter high house. And our first collages how to deal with this garden and the houses themselves. Yeah, here you see the kind of how it is located. In this park, next to the street, on this on the top side there is a creek. This is a river. On the other side you have the low-rise area, and in the back there is a higher-rise area. Yeah, this arrow is a container building by Low-Tech. This circle here is a pavilion by Mass Studies, and this here is open house. here, and in the center there was this this square. This is important for our next workshop, and these are kind of pavilions called chongjas, which are also very important in this Korean culture. Because the measure of the platform is somehow has the same measure like this chongjas. Yes, some elevations. See, you have different spaces, different levels. Somehow it's dense, somehow it's you have a little bit more space. You can look through. Here we have somehow sections. The houses have different uses. They are sometimes individual, private. Sometimes they are collective, and this still is collage, and then our final and biggest workshop we did was the open house building workshop. We made a 6 weeks building workshop inside of this square where we built the wooden houses with people from the community. The vests you see, this is something we did. In the back there was this, in Korean, open house building team. And so in these 6 weeks, we had more than 200 people coming and building with us. So, and this is summarizing this 5 of these 6 weeks, I would say. So this is the start, you know. We started to build fences, so there was a demand to have a fence because of security. And the first house we built was a bar. What you see here is a bar. And there is another specialist we collaborated with, this Korean carpenter, Mr. Lee. Then we started to build our first furniture. This was the gate for the entrance. Sometimes it's raining, and if it's raining, then it's raining a lot, so we need roofs, you know, and shadow, because if it's not raining, it's the sun is shining, and this is really hot. This is the second house we called real estate planning office. I explain later. So this is the bar. So when the bar was finished here, what we did also parallel is the evening we did a bar opening. So what you see here was the first bar opening. So building a house, trying out how it works. So then, now you see in the back there was a construction company coming and starting to build the steel structure and the platforms. And they used the real fence. We don't wanted to have this kind of fence, so this is why we built this wooden fence. And then more and more people came. These are teenagers making signs, cutting out stencils. No, we built tea house. So for the tea house, they made a sign, and for the urban planning, for the real estate planning office, they built signs. The children started to build toys. This is our planning office. So sometimes we not had enough tools for all the people, so they started to design ideas or develop ideas inside of the planning office how they would like to use the houses. always between building toys and houses and next to the construction company. Yeah, we started to set up a little village. First horizontal and later vertical. Teenagers like to make insulation, we realized. This was their favorite work. Here you see planning. This is the Chase Borderless.
이 못이 이모니까? 섞여 있어요. 이거.
The maps are public there. This is a desire map here. The desire map is 7 meters long and 1 meter high. Yeah. This is our Korean Mies van der Rohe bench. This was the farmer, right? And you see that's he's still working. Several events, concert in the tea house, cinema evenings. This is a rabbit house. Farm needs animals. Yes, after the workshop, this is very important. We had a lot of discussion there, so this was very important for us to leave this sentence. This house is your house, so that because when we left, so we left middle of September. It was not really finished, and the citizens were really afraid that the city hall will not let them continue the things. It looks good at the moment, but so we left this sentence on this house. But first, what we did then, after the houses were finished, the crane was coming. We were lifting them up and putting them on this finished steel structure. This is a rabbit house. The little one is a rabbit house. This other one is a shed for the farmer. Yes, and it was somehow finished the beginning of October, and now it's in use. Here you see some pictures before the opening. It's connected to the landscape. You have different possibilities to get access to the structure. There is a kind of walking path. So the platforms are open, so you cannot close it. The houses you can close, but this thing is part of this park. Yeah, this is the grow house here, the greenhouse, inside of the greenhouse, the plants, and on the platforms. Yeah, and this is now something which has to grow. It's for us now interesting how this will develop in the next years. So it's a permanent building, but it's temporary. But it's also temporary. But it will change all the time, and this depends on the uses. And it's just something people can develop individual needs and uses for houses, but they also have to think how this works together as a collective structure, because they have neighbors, and it's a kind of society machine or something. Or so this is what we then did. We called it social sculpture, and so we just also added existing parts of the park to the farmland. Yes. And I'm really curious how this will continue. At the moment, I get mails that people love it, but I don't get details how they do it. So I'm always asking, please send some stories or send some pictures. I would like to see how it works. Yes, but it will work. I'm sure, because it will never be something like an empty sculpture or just an art object, because there's too much identification between the people and this structure. This is the final one. It's so very, very short. But if you are too tired, I could just skip this. But I can also continue, because it's different. This is from reality. This is from reality back to the visions, and this is also Venice Biennial. This was 2008. We were invited to exhibition in the Italian pavilion. And we in 2008 we had a project. We collaborated with Archigram, and we had a wonderful conversation with these Archigram people about their work, and interview with Dennis Crompton, and this was inspiring us to make this project. We asked Dennis Crompton how the walking city would look like today. And he said, "Oh, you silly guys, it was never meant to be built. It was an image, it was a drawing, it was something, but never meant to be real." So this inspired us to develop a project for Venice called the Stick-on City. Stick-on City is a drawing we did collective in our office. We were looking for fantastic visionary designs of architecture from the whole architectural history, and brought them together in a huge drawing. Here you see how it worked. And the original drawing was 4 meters long and 80 centimeters high. And here you see the result. So parts of the drawing, and here you see some Archigram projects, and the walking city you can also see, but also this Castle Neuschwanstein, and this is a Three Canyon Dam in China, and you see Super Studio, and you see Tatlin, and you see the Tower of Babel, and here you see Dubai, and Elisitsky's things, and some other, and the Twin Towers you see here. So this is, and you see the Palladio design of the Rialto Bridge in Venice. And so we brought all these different things together in one big drawing, but we left space. There is space left. People could continue the drawing. They could draw their own idea on.
So, should we continue? No.
I could.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Je pense que c'était, pour moi en tout cas, un vrai plaisir de voir cette énergie surtout, hein, parce que tous ces projets, ça ne se fait pas tout seul et on se demande, ou moi je me demande toujours, il faut y croire hein, dans ce genre de projet. Et perhaps I speak English so you can understand it also. I think there's so much energy in this project, in this energy from the people that do it, but also the people that have it in mind, like you. They initiate this process. And for me, this is very interesting because today I think the city is creating by the process. You said it. City is never finished. It's always a process. And I think this kind of projects, they are really a good example for how the city can change temporarily, but also permanent, like in the last project. Because I think there will be a project that will not be only temporary, that will be also a project that is definitely in this landscape, but perhaps the surroundings will change a lot, like you said in South Korea.
Yes, but demand of the city hall was that this building to be there for many years. This was, for us in the beginning, was crazy to imagine, to build something 5 years, wow.
So, perhaps we can ask 1 or 2 questions, but it's late, and he has to take his train and 30 or a little bit more. So, is there 1 or 2 questions, perhaps? Very important questions? Des questions?
Can be also 3 questions, I think.
Oh, 3 questions, yes, of course.
I will have short answers.
No?
Oh, we can wait. We can.
Okay. Bravo. Okay. That's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seulement, là, il y a encore des... Comme il y a le workshop et il est dans cette semaine. Et là, oui, il y a 2 choses à dire. Donc, il y a vendredi, il y a la table ronde qui aura lieu à l'école des arts décoratifs à partir de 9h ou 8h30, hein, ça commence. Avec justement Daniel Payot, je n'ai pas les noms en tête, peut-être c'est Christiana qui peut dire 2-3 choses là-dessus, non? Ouais. Donc en tout cas, c'est dans le programme ici, prenez le programme, c'est fait partie de ce workshop qui aura lieu en ce moment. Et ça c'est pour les étudiants, ça c'est pas pour vous, ça c'est pour les étudiants. Ça c'est pour les étudiants du workshop. Si tu fais pas le workshop, tu laisses. Hein. Donc voilà. Bon, merci beaucoup.